I'm here to interview Mr. Kromah.
Alhaji Ansumana Kromah.
Kromah. First of all, I want you to please give us your full name and some key position that you occupy in government.
Thank you very much. My name is Ansumana Kromah. I hail from Ganta, Nimba County. Educationally, I am a graduate of the University of Liberia and in Carnival University in San Antonio, Texas, USA. You have come to have this interview, yes, and I gave you this opportunity that you should come so that we can all share knowledge. As for working experience, initially when I left the university, I took up assignment as a classroom teacher in Lower Nimba County in a city that they call Tapeta. And this school, I became principal emeritus when President William R. Talbot declared it a high school. I became the first principal. And from there on, I graduated 3 classes, and they all took first place in WIAC in the nation. Indeed, you people are writers. Probably one day you might have the occasion to visit the Ministry of Education, and you can go and do your own research. It will be good that you go and do this. Well, in 1978, there was a riot among the school children in Saniquele, at Saniquele Central High. So the school authorities deemed it at the time necessary that with what we were doing in Tapeta, I should be transferred to calm the situation in Saniquele Central High for a while. Now, while I was there, the Liberian government also appointed me to the position of special assistant to the superintendent of Nimba County. That was the first time that position was ever introduced in government. And I was the first person again to head that position in the county. Following the coup, the 1980 coup, like many others, we were all arrested and jailed. And the former Chief Justice was in jail with us. Commissioner Kafumba Kone, at the time he was commissioner of Saniquele District, headquarters in Ganta. We were all arrested along with so many paramount chiefs and clan chiefs, I can't name all, incarcerated in jail in Saniquele. We remained there until Captain Robert G. Say of the Armed Forces of Liberia was named by the President of Liberia at the time, or head of state as they used to call him, as superintendent of Nimba County. So Captain Robert G. Say then became the first superintendent of Nimba County when the PRC took over. So when he came, we were in jail, and he invited us under the Palaver Hut. He interviewed us one at a time. At the time I was there with the development superintendent, who was also in jail, one James Mann, who was also in jail with us. Just in passing, he had gone to inspect development project in Saklipi Man district, and on his way coming, he didn't know about the coup, and then he was arrested by soldiers, put him in his jeep, and brought him to Sanikole and jailed him along with us. All right, while we were there, it was my turn for the interview, and I told him, we heard on radio that all civil servants should report to work, and based on that announcement, I went to work, and the soldiers came and collected us in the office, put us in their car, and took us to the prison compound, and they put us in jail too, along with all the other people that they brought. So when the superintendent finally arrived at this interview, and I told him all of this, then I said, in the end, the soldiers took me to show them all of the border points between Liberia and Guinea, which I did. I took them all around. And then he asked, what was my position? And I said, I was special assistant to the superintendent, given now that the government that we were in, which was the top of government, has been overthrown. That's why I'm speaking in the past. And while there, he said, oh, well, teacher, we will discuss that later when we get to the office. As soon as he said teacher, then I looked behind me. He said, no, you. Teacher, I was shocked. Nanu, the man who's interviewing me, he had on his goggles with the military headgear. I couldn't make up the person who was interviewing me. And I didn't know him by name before we got to the Palaver Hut. Then he said, oh, no, you. Then he took off his goggles. Believe me or not, then life returned to my soul. I felt now that I was a human being and I was living. Because while we were in jail, the provost marshal brought the radio during the 7 o'clock news and set it by the doorstep of the prison room. And we heard the announcement on the radio that these number of government officials were executed on the polls. So we are still in custody. We are still in jail. So when they came to call us for this short tribunal, we all were assuming that indeed after the tribunal, then they're going to execute us. This was where my fear was coming from. Okay? And then he said, all right then, you stand on this side. Okay, so I took that side. And then from there, we went ahead, go back to the compound. Then he said,
yeah, not cutting you off. Was he somebody that you know before? The guy with the goggles?
I taught Tape Memorial High School. But when he came, when he was named superintendent, of the county, and he came in the county. I did not hear the announcement as to who is going to be the next superintendent because we were in jail. We didn't have access to radio. All right? And then he came back in the county. Then he said, "You bring out all the political prisoners." That's when they brought us out, and he started interviewing us one by one. Okay? It was from there. Then he said, "It is my understanding that the administrative assistant ran away from the country. But wherever he goes, we are going to make sure he's arrested." Okay? Then he said, the administrative assistant to the superintendent and the special assistant to the superintendent, these two positions, which one is higher? Then I said, the administrative assistant to the superintendent is higher. Okay? But the special assistant to the superintendent is your walking stick. Wherever you go, he's with you. So he said, all right. If that is the case, then until the head of state can approve, you are now the the administrative assistant to the superintendent. So I used to vaunt, I used to bluff those guys. I said, "You see, I went to jail and I left jail with promotion." They gave me that position. And the president finally confirmed it. And the Brahma Commission. All right. Why in that position, the position of the assistant superintendent for development, which is directly next to the superintendent, was vacant. And of course, the legislators got together and took my name forward. And again, the president appointed me to that position. Well, after being appointed to that position, I served for many years as assistant superintendent for development, building roads and bridges along with experts. And to qualify for that position, the government of Liberia sent us, along with other development superintendents around the country, to the Pan-African Institute in Cameroon, where we were able to learn something in development administration. And so based on that background, we came back and we started working successfully in that discipline. Well, you asked me for all the positions I have occupied. It's a long story. Whatever the case, after that, the president also appointed me in 1985 as a member of the Special Elections Commission, because this commission was specifically intended for that 1985 election, because it was now a constitutional commission. All right, and so 1985, I occupied that position until we conducted the election, and after the election, I came back to the States and went to school. That's when I did my master's and went back home. And I went home again. I was appointed Minister of Internal Affairs in the Samuel Doe government. All right, but given what was happening, okay, all of us left the country and went in exile. All right, maybe whatever will happen, I don't know what your interview constitute, but that was a short time position because of the war, the civil war that Mr. Taylor and his people brought into the country. All right. And after that, we all left the country, and later on, I returned. When I returned, the this was the time where they had what they call power sharing government. And in that power sharing government, I was appointed to the position of Director General of Liberia National Fire Service. And it was from that position that President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf appointed me member of the 7-man Electoral Commission responsible to conduct elections throughout Liberia. To present, that's the position I'm occupying.
We're trying to get a brief history of Ganta. So what do you know about Ganta? By this I mean the meaning of the I want to know the meaning of the word Ganta, the early inhabitants of Ganta, and the founding fathers.
The history, as we know it, the contemporary history, before I proceed, I would love if you intend to do good job in your endeavor. I would recommend that you try to talk to some of the elders that are older than me and are still living. If you can grab anyone and you talk to them, then the information you will get, you will be able to authenticate which one maybe majority agree on, then you can include that in your work. All right. When our parents started coming, they all settled first in one little village right outside of this main town that they call Small Ganta. Okay, but long ago, our people never used to love to settle down in any town or village if they don't find out from their scribes, their imams, and all the great religious people in their ranks, whether if they settle there, they will meet up with luck, it's good, the good place to be, whether the place in question is good for them to live. When they did that, the common language that our people normally use, they say city kala. I'm sorry, I don't know whether it's an Arabic word or it's a Mandingo word. Well, okay. But that's what they used to tell us. They use that to find out whether they can settle there. And they told them, you'll cross that river. Okay, actually, the creek, before you get to Ganta, they call it a river, but it is a tributary of the St. John River. So they crossed and went to the present spot. Actually, our parents were the ones who took cutlasses and brushed the present city of Ganta, and they were living there. Initially, while they were there, it was really not called Ganta. They called it Sokla, meaning in Mandingo, the new town. They are now leaving Small Ganta and moving to the main town. So they call it Sokla, meaning in Mandingo, new town. But when they moved there, the Mano people themselves called the town Gompa. He said those people who went over there, they are men. So they call it the town of men. It doesn't mean biological men, But men in the sense, maybe in spiritual world, where they know no small person, I mean in our local language, no small person can go and live over there. You must be a man. Now you will know now what it means to be a man in that category. At the time, all of the original inhabitants, but my father, Alhaji Fesu Kromah, Alhaji Fonsi Adonso, maybe you might know some of his children, Kalamo Donzo, Lusuni Donzo, who used to be Minister of Public Works. Okay? Then you have Chief Musa Kromah, who became Paramount Chief. He was my father's immediate brother. And you had Omer Krakomo. You had oh my God, Omer Krakomo. This was the reason why he was older than me. He would be able to tell you.
Yeah, we asked somebody before.
Okay. Alhaji Kwiti, the Mano people during the period of their settlement, they call him Kwiti. Say they other Kwi, they say that Kwi, that means he's a civilized man. But that black civilized men, they're not white men. Okay? The history that they will give you about him, you will know. But he was one of the original settlers. Alright, then later on, few Mano people moved in. Very few. Pesuo, okay? Johnny Ganta. Originally, Johnny Ganta was not from there. He came from a village in present-day Guinea that they call Kwempa. Okay? But we used to all know him to have been someone who came from France. Because at the time, there was no Guinea. Guinea was not born yet. We were still all under these colonial powers. Then you have Ome Nyangbato. Okay? There's a village between JK and Ganta that they call Bala. That Ome Nyangbato. So when you're doing your research, if you get there, you will see. But all of these people were in and out, all right, in Ganta during and after 1904. President Arthur Barclay will to the rest of the hinterland inhabitants and declare all of us citizens. That was when we all now have voting rights and we can now speak as citizens. But what I want you to understand, we were not actually by virtue of the limited education that we had. Okay? I don't like to say we were nothing, we were something. The Mano people, ourselves, all of us, we never used to eat our meat raw, we used to cook them. Therefore, we have some semblance of civilization. We were all smart, we were all intelligent people. We're not living in caves. The Manopo had their little huts. The Madingopo had their huts. We all were living in homes. Okay? As per our country standard at the time. Okay. Now, Omen Yakbato came in from Bala. So if you went there and questioned people who are there, somebody would be able to tell you something about him and his family. But he used to come every time from there, cross the ferry. That time that was ferry, we didn't have bridge on the St. John River between Ganta and JK. Somebody else, even though the ferry was built in my own lifetime, but my educational, my memory, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly when the bridge was constructed. But they used to come and cross the ferry. We ourselves used to cross the ferry to go to Bala Market from Ganta at the time. Now, like I said, the name Ganta was not given by us. It was a Pele soldier who gave that name. So Ganta is now a Mano word, not a Madingo word. So in your research, talk to some more people. You might be able to know if the name is of any significance. You must be able to know what it means and why did they call it Ganta at the time.
All right. The next question is, what do you know about Ulemo and its formation?
The formation of Ulemo as a military organization, I have very, 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 very little, I must admit, to contribute in that light. But the movement for the redemption of Liberian Muslims, MRM, Alaji was chair of that movement and I was co-chair. All right? All of the meetings and things that we used to do and discuss, all right, were under the auspices of that organization, the MRM. We went to Saudi Arabia to raise funds under the directive of the MRM. Okay? But the joint cooperations, all right, of the Crown boys and the Madingo boys at the time in Sierra Leone decided that they must fight their way back to go to Liberia. But prior to that, I delivered a speech. There's a possibility that somebody may get a copy of that speech somewhere, and in your research, they might make you come across it one day if I don't mention it. But I delivered a speech at the stadium in Zerikore as vice chair of the movement for the redemption of Liberian Muslims, giving them all of the support and courage that we should not forget that one day we'll have to go home. We're not going to be like the Jews. But the Jews fought continuously until one day they were able to get a Jewish state. So we have to fight to go back home. We have done no wrong. We didn't commit any crime. Any kind of association we wanted to do, we had the right to do it. And therefore, no one should think, say, the way we have left the country, we're going to investigate. Okay? What was the justification for taking up arms, coming to see our people in the county, peaceful, not armed, did not threat to anybody or organization, and he just opened fire, killed them. Killed good number of our people in the Friday mosque in Tiapa, Zoga district. They killed good number of our people in Kample when they came in. We were not armed. We didn't know anything about armed men coming into the country. We didn't have security report. We were not in government. But yet, they came and killed good number of our people. So I delivered that message to our people and say, those Muslims that were killed, we will have to return to have them buried. There could be a possibility that that speech may have given some momentum to our boys to go and sign up with a group in Sierra Leone to say, if we have to go, we will join you. All right? But before they could put themselves together, I attended their first meeting when they were trying to elect the leadership of Ulimo. That was in Freetown. And at that meeting, Alhaji Kromah lost to Raleigh Siki for the chairmanship. And then the organization was formed. Then the leadership appointed Alhaji as the spokesman for Ulimo. But later on in their program, Alhaji and Raleigh Siki fell out. They say because Alhaji had one interview. So maybe if you had the occasion to talk to Raleigh Siki and talk to Alhaji, they will say a little more. They are all alive. So say they say Alhaji went and said things on BBC that he was not authorized to say. So they fell out. However, he was chair of the organization of Ulimo until they arrived at Pool River, and their headquarters was in Todmorden. Okay. Now, while the MRM was in Conakry, based in Conakry, the organization appointed a few of us and say, we think there might come a time that all the military thing will go away and will revert to politics. So you'll move now to Monrovia and see if you can organize a political party. So we went on to Monrovia and we went and organized the Reformation Alliance Party. So by the time Ulimo decided to do reshuffle, well, no, that's not reshuffle, re-election, to conduct their second election, all right? The group, the Raleigh Siki group, because they were now divided into two groups, the Raleigh Siki group and the Alhaji Kromah group. So they came from from Freetown and remained in Monrovia and were afraid to go to Todmorden for the election. Alhaji and his party supporters went directly, after they came from Conakry, they went directly to Todmorden for the election. And because these other people did not go, so the Ulimo fighters all decided, well, the one who came, I'm sure is the one who had interest in the organization. Therefore, they elected Alhaji. But, you know, it was a misunderstanding in our community when they started switching authority and distorting history. Alhaji was not the first chairman of Ulimo. It was Raleigh Siki. Alhaji became chairman when Ulimo had already fought her way and taken all of Lofa, Grand Cape Mount, bombing, and come to Pearl River. Victory. They decided now to have an election for the second phase of Ulimo. So give credit to those who deserve credit. What I saw, that was just that. And we went ahead now and organized the political party. But when they all climb up way up there now, everybody Alaji. So when they came to Monrovia, after the disarmament, we were now getting ready now to prepare ourselves for politics. He said to us that he was going to organize his own political party and he was not going to join us. Our brother split. So all the elites, all the educated elites of the Mandingo ethnic group were in that political party. Because some of us, you gave gun to us to give it to our enemy to shoot somebody, we will not do it. But that didn't mean they didn't have moral support from us. They had all of the support you can think on. Why? Because we wanted to come home, because it was our right to be here. And we really wanted to come home. So everything that they were doing, we go to political meetings. When ECOWA invite us, we go to all these different meetings. Yes, why we went to those meetings? Because it was our right to go to those meetings and then make sure that our people will leave exile and come home one day. Okay, it was the understanding of all of the leadership of Ulimo at the time that the only language these people will understand is the language of the gun. Therefore, they will take their gun and move on, all right, to make sure our people return home. The Kromah who were in exile, the Mandingo who were in exile, all of us will one day return home. So they believe that the armed struggle will yield to that result. And of course, I would say everybody succeeded. We formed a political party, we went to election, and they formed the armed group. They also formed their own political party, and we all went to election. And today, we are all here.
I want you to, the last time was lecture and you was talking about Mamadi Sano. So I don't know, for record now, we want you to a little bit tell us about his contribution to Liberia.
One historical thing I want you to know about that man will tell you that prior to the war, nobody will tell you that prior to the war, there was no fight, no hatred between Mandingo people and Gil people, between Mandingo people and Mano people. No hatred. We're all one. We intermarry. We live together. I mean, the most peaceful coexistence you can think on existed among us. There was no fight. Until Mr. Taylor brought his war and recruited all of these thugs in Bele and gave them guns and they start shooting at us. Whatever instruction they gave them, we don't know. But anywhere they find a Mandingo person, you were dead. So when that information got to us, those that they have not killed, we make sure we encourage them to leave. We say, well, they say they're hunting the government officials and Mandingo people. We don't know why they're hunting us. We're not president, we're not vice president, we're nothing. Okay? So for Mamadi Ray, a Mandingo man, in the 1985 general and presidential election, ran as paramount chief in Butuo, a community that is predominantly Gio, and he was elected, almost on white ballot. That's how he beat his opponents. So that alone will illustrate the fact that I just made, that indeed we were together and we were living together as one people. And then he was Palmer chief. Okay. I would like for you to talk to him so that he may be able to give you some inside story about himself and about that chiefdom. I am not from there. I'm from Sanikolema, and he's from Belege. Zoge chiefdom. Okay? So if you talk to him, he's going to tell you a little more. Because Palmer chief know more about the chiefdom than I can tell you. But I think the best you can do is to talk to himself. But his contribution, he was Palmer chief, he ran, and he is a vivid proof. Vivid proof. In fact, if you're going to print a book of this nature, one day, ask him to photocopy his certificate, election certificate. Let him photocopy it. You make that photocopy available in your book and say, this is a proof that there was no fight prior to the war between Mandingo people and the Mano and Gio people. No fight. We're all living together.
Yeah, not to cut you off. We have had, interview with him before.
Beautiful.
But we didn't know that he occupied that position
until
you talk about it.
Yes.
But we're still going to talk to him again.
Yeah, you'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going off a little bit. History reveals that people migrated because of war, hunger, disease, and other stuff. What do you know about the ancestors of the tribes of Liberia? Where the place they came from or they migrated from?
Well,
some of the tribes.
What do you know? What I know, up to today, we know that before the colonization, where we live was called the Mande Empire. And those of us who were on the Liberian side, we see the Kondo Confederation. And were also called by some of the colonialists, Mandingo land. All right. But we all came from the Mande Empire, especially when the scramble for Africa started in 1857. All of these people wanted a piece of the pie. They wanted some little portion of Africa for their own good. All right? But the colonial authorities came with the high degree of the slave mentality. So our people didn't like the type of oppression that they were giving them. So they had to leave to go where they think it would be more peaceful. So the how come you have it right, yes, hunger, disease, oppression from the colonialists. Our people left and came to Liberia. And among those tribes were Mandingo, Mano, Gio, Pele, Kisi, all of us migrated and came on this side and settled down. Of course, at the time, we didn't need laissez-passer to come on this side because we were all part of the Mande Empire. But unfortunately, when the Liberian government declared her nationhood, she didn't have military power to be able to go and put barricades in Kerala behind Musadu, because that was to the extent the Liberian nation extended. They didn't have military, they didn't have police force. And so the French colony came and again pushed them all the way to the St. John River. Okay, but you know, when Liberia was founded, The nation was really right there on the coast, and you saw that in doing your research, you'll get a lot of case study from us. Go ahead, ask many more scholars. They will tell you. Even the people who wrote Doris Benjamin book, Seguanu book, all of them say at some point King Saboso Kamara, you understand?
Yes, I was.
Told the natives to not harass, I'm speaking verbatimly, to not harass the settlers. And if they do, he will punish them. Alright? Those were not his own words, but it implied this is what he said. Now, if King Saboso Kamara wasn't a very powerful king among all of the kings that they talked about, he wouldn't say so. No president can look at another president if you're not so powerful and say your move. We all saw it happening in this era. There was some president who said, stop your grabbing and carrying to the Hague and see and put into court. And another president was handcuffed and put on a plane and carried to the Hague. So you see, if King Saboso wasn't a powerful king, that would not have happened. So he provided all of these protection for the Liberian settlers. But again, they also were limited, Liberian government, because they were not backed by a government. Most people say they were backed by America. No. The American Colonization Society was just an NGO. It is that NGO that founded the Liberian nation. Okay? Mississippi, what we call SANO, it was another NGO too from America that helped to form that nation. Then Maryland, it was another NGO. So all of these were funded. Later on, they all decided, hey, the way this thing is going, the group people threatening to fight, these people threatening to fight, we better all come together. That's when they decided to join the Liberian nation to form one country. So in your research, I'm sure you will see something of that nature there.
Since so far that's it.
Okay. Feel free, you are always welcome.
That you think there was no division between our people, or no hatred between the Madingos and the Gio and all the Manos.
Side, and you look at the political side. But let's look at politics. If there were hatred between us and among us, or we were all belligerent groups that we were fighting each other every day, people coming to divide us, you understand? Mm-hmm. Believe me, I will give you some examples. In Zoge alone, on two or three occasions, yeah, the people of Butuo, you understand? The people of Butuo overwhelmingly voted for Mamadi Ray to become paramount chief in that chiefdom. If there were a fight among them, they are in the minority, he would never have been elected. Then Representative Mamadi Kamara from Baum. Okay? Majority of the people that voted for him were Guios. So if there were a fight among us, that would never happen. Of course, Edward Komo Sako, they voted for him in that district overwhelmingly, along with other citizens in the county, to elect him senator. If we have fight, that would never have happened. The Interpreter district, the Gio people, along with the handful of Madingo people who were there, voted overwhelmingly for Omer Abdullah Kromah and elected him representative of that electoral district or electoral constituency. These are proofs. They're on the economic side. If you went to all the towns, Kwetuo, Gray, all the other towns, Saclay-Pied, Bao, Bo, everywhere you went around the country, you will go and see the little shop you will find there. The one Mandingo ball selling in that shop, and he pay. All right, and security-wise, they were protected. No fight. So we didn't have fight among us until this war came. So we actually, probably it better to lower it to yourself. But as far as I know, I did not hear, I did not read, I did not see any war or any fight between and among us, Gio, Mano, and the Mandingo people in Nimba.